Okay, because it's the end of the turn, well, the end of all the impulses for this turn, what you do now is go on to the next phase, which is called the subsistence phase. Now everybody's got to roll on the morale table, and depending on the result and that, they actually can take losses or morale hits. Now I've done all the rolls for this, so all the ones that suffered, no one took any losses, but quite a few expeditions took a morale hit. The only expedition that didn't have to roll for starvation in the subsistence turn was Pizarro, because he had 1 unit of food. So the unit of food is consumed and he suffers no effects of starvation. Everybody else has either taken losses, well, taken morale hits, or they threw a 6 and didn't suffer any ill effects. Next thing you look at in the subsistence phase is if anybody finishes in a space with mosquitoes, you have to roll for the effects of malaria, but there's nobody who's actually on one of those spaces. That, yeah, again, you roll on the morale check table, but there's some different sort of modifiers and things for a malaria roll. Next phase would be the victory point determination. Now, there's no point, there's hardly anyone's got any victory points at this particular moment, so we're not even going to bother looking at that, because no one's going to win the game. Next thing you need to do is remove all plunder attempts and gold roll markers placed on the map. So effectively there's only a plunder attempt here. We'll turn Pizarro back into his correct orientation because he can now be used in the next turn. Right, and we move on to the turn 3. Now, in turn 3, any of your red Conquistadors that had not been selected in the first and second rounds are shuffled into the strategy card deck, which I've done. One thing is worth knowing, that you can now move into these ocean spaces in South America, which are only become available for movement on the third turn. I'll repeat the fact that the map's actually wrong, and it says do not enter the first 3 turns. It's actually do not enter for the first 2 turns. That's in the errata. Next thing you do is your strategy card discard phase. If you want to get rid of any of your cards, this is the time to do it. Well, quite Balboa likes what he's got, and same for me, Cortez. I'm quite happy with the cards I've got. I don't want to get rid of them. Looking at Amalgro, I'm not really bothered about medicinal bark. I'm not intending to get stuck in a malaria area, so I'm going to discard that. I'm not going to keep bearers either, because normally you're only allowed to have 10 units in an expedition. This allows me to have 12 and carry more food than I'd normally do. So I'm going to get rid of that as well. Pizarro's got quite a lot of cards here. No, I'm not going to bother. I could do with getting rid of one of these. I'm going to get rid of my reaction card for plunder. So okay, so that's all done. Next thing, you draw cards up to a hand of 10, and then you have to discard 2, and so you have a total of 8 cards when you go into the next set of impulses. Okay, we've discarded down to 8 cards. Next thing we do is do our initiative. You've got to roll 2d6s and decide your initiative order. So Cortez gets 8, Balboa gets 7, Pizarro 8, and Amalgo 6. Because Pizarro and Cortez both rolled 8, we have to do a roll off. Cortez gets 6 and Pizarro gets 8. So Pizarro gets initiative 1 and Cortez gets initiative 3. I may have messed that up, but I'm not going to do it again. Next thing you have to do is roll for the random events on the random event table. So we roll a 12, which is 10 plus storm. Any expedition at sea must immediately return to the nearest port. We have, yes, two expeditions at sea. So Hernando de Cordoba and Pedro de Alvarado return to Santiago de Cuba. Final thing is set your impulse track to 0, and we're ready for turn 3. Now I'm not going to do a video on this unless there's anything very specific that comes up